Game number 2 on the way. Picks and bans for the fans. We'll see how this one works out as far as everything is concerned. OCG on the left side, the first pick.
You got another one ready for game 3 if we get there?
You know, I knew you were going to ask that.
That was pretty good, though. That's what I'm saying. You got like
we'll get
P's and B's, pretty P's. Pretty please. I said that right. Picks and bans for the fans.
Yep.
What you got to get for the next one?
We'll get there when we get there.
Okay.
That is, of course, if Outcold Gaming don't win the game.
Tom is now heavily rooting for Outcold Gaming.
I mean, can't you see the gear?
It's blue. Is that Outcold immediately?
I mean, I'm cold as ice right now.
Sorry to hear that. We can turn up the heat if you want.
Aggro forever being...
Trying to be helpful.
I expect you to be wearing like dad cargo shorts.
No, I'm wearing
You got
these.
some dad shoes on though.
What do you mean? These aren't dad shoes. Like, get out of here. No one can even see the shoes. This is horrible content. This is so bad.
I can see the shoes.
I know. You're the only one, Tom.
I know.
You're making it worse. There's the Merlin ban for Flashpoint. This is what we expected to take away Arthur and Merlin in that second pick slot. Johnny doesn't get to play the Alkwong, and then right back to the Naja. This is the right call for Outcold. Half Devil had his best game of the year so far, and it wasn't really close. Half Devil, give him a pick that he's comfortable with and playing well with, and it makes a world of difference for Outcold.
It's very interesting because Naja, I think, I'm with you, I think Half Devil has underperformed for the majority of this season. And Naja wasn't exactly my go-to selection for this guy. I was like, maybe that's going to be an issue. And really what I saw to the Naja was that Half Devil got himself into trouble, but instead of looking like Half Devil, looked like Raffer, where, hey, I planned this, I'm going to turn around and ult you while my team shows up. And I think that's why the Naja worked out here for OCG. They're going to pair it up with an Achilles and a Hachiman.
I will say, though, that a lot of the reason I think Half Devil was able to play so aggressively was how effective those Gibelanke ultimates were.
Absolutely.
In that last game for Spudio. So I love Flashpoint taking that right away and making sure they don't have to worry about that Gibelanke ultimate in these team fights. I think that as important as Pretty Prime was, the next biggest thing in these team fights for Outcold was probably that X-Ball ult. So making sure that they don't have to worry about it on the side of Flashpoint and making it so that now Outcold has to keep that in mind is a really good look for them.
Sun Wukong, the final selection here on the last section of the first portion of the draft here. Flashpoint, looking at it. Now, I heard the commentators talk about how Sibi wasn't really tanky enough and the Sun Wukong was kind of an issue. Do you think that's going to be the same case here?
No, because no one will prot shred you as well as Merlin will. Merlin makes everyone look like paper whenever he's in fire stance. I mean, you drop the 2, and then you start burning him with the 1, and you'll make any tank basically instant
Just
disappear.
cook him.
You really do cook them.
Just cook them.
You got to cook them. They're well done after Merlin.
Cook them!
Yes, that is what we're cooking them. We've said it a lot now. Yeah.
I just like the phrase cook them.
I know you do. You want to talk about the bans or what?
No, you can.
Okay, I will. Circat, the other ban, thank you. Yeah, this is probably where we should stay for the majority of this picks and bans.
I mean, I
segment.
can just...
No, you don't have to. You can stay there. You should come up with some sort of weird phrase to throw it with. Just keep working on that because I got the rest of this.
I'll think about it.
Couple junglers banned away by Outcold. Johnny to star players, so keep those out of his hands. Though Bakasura is still on the table, and that's one that he's gone to pretty consistently. We could see Outcold pick it for themselves with the Achilles in solo, Naja support, and then pick that Bakasura for themselves if they so choose. But Flashpoint willing to wait and give up that Bakasura potentially and go to the RDO.
Yeah, I want to see what Flashpoint choose here for Johnny. I think it could absolutely be very interesting. Zeus. The Zeus Juice coming through. Do you know anybody that likes Zeus?
Pretty Prime. Pretty Prime likes playing Zeus. He does.
I like how we only hear this music when we do this.
I know, when we just end up staring at each other because for some reason you seem really averse to doing the death segment.
I just really like looking in your eyes, Aggro.
Thank you for that and making me feel uncomfortable on the desk. You want to make a goal or we can...
Johnny going Daji. Who wins?
Outcold has Zeus. Outcold has Zeus. Of course they win.
Of course. Aggro might be a little biased. We'll see how Flashpoint does. Can we get to a game 3? Let's find out now. Casters, Finch, Taco, take us to the promised land.
That's what you came up with.
Aggro, I was also a little uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie, as Tom stared deeply into your eyes. But Outcold up against Flashpoint. Game number 2 here, Taco. Between these two very evenly matched teams. It's a bit of a different look for Outcold. I don't know if they have the same recipe, but maybe they have another good one.
Well, they've got to have something cooking, that's for sure, Finch, if they plan on making it to a Game 3 here. But Outcold seems as though they're a little bit more preoccupied with just trying to figure out if Half Devil wants to go for the aggressive start in the lane, or Fusify going to answer that question for us in advance. Blink Artio just going straight in on Spudio.
Absolutely is, and they're trying to prioritize clearing the wave, but it does mean that Spudio is going to pay a hefty tax in terms of HP. Meanwhile, Caspanify was able to get plenty of poke into the wave in by himself too. So the one with the healthier wave, well, that's also Flashpoint. They got the better of this one. Fusify set that up for this team on the RDO.
I think Fusify was a little unhappy with how much aggression Half Devil was showing in that first game, Finch, and so he just took the bear and said, that's the end of it. I'm the one who's going to brawl you now. And Fusify just pawing at him left and right. All of this aggression from the RDO of refusing to let the Najah do anything.
That was a great call to go to the third person on that too, because you can really see how active Fusify is playing, right? It really does feel like there's some raw aggression coming straight through the keyboard into this actual game, so I love it. As now they look for the invade, but oh, this might be a bait. Frostiak and Prime on the way, but the call must have come through from that middle lane from Johnny and Faircrick, because the rest of Flashpoint's dual lane backed off. The buff successfully saved by Outcold.
Fusify and Caspanify might have had the lane advantage for a moment, but still don't really want to bother trying to dance with this Humbats and the Zeus. That burst damage can get kind of nasty between the two, and it's just not worth risking the sacrifice of the lane pressure they've already established on Flashpoint.
Sibi in trouble. Low HP bar Sun Wukong, what we were used to seeing from last game. We're just seeing it now happen a little bit earlier on as the Achilles getting a slight better of him throughout this early game. Demi already has the tier 1 round shield to start working into what I imagine will be the Glad shield, whereas Sibi instead went with the health chalice, so he'll be able to sustain it up a good bit.
But I like this from Flashpoint. They're kind of just trying to bide their time, I think, until they can hit that mid-game point, because that'll be, I think, where the start of greatness for this composition. Flashpoint have a lot of really nice pieces, but I want to keep an eye on Johnny, especially with this Daji, because I think it's ultimately going to come down to how effective these Powwows are against Pretty Prime and Frostiak.
Well, they've got a composition that really everyone asks for your beads, and you can't say yes to everybody in this composition, right? Daji demands it with the Powwow, Faircrick with those ranged stuns, even Fusify if you're trapped inside a cripple field or a stun. So it can be tough for Outcold to make sure they have all the right answers, especially for this lone immobile Zeus in the middle lane for Prime.
It's going to have to be Pretty Prime that made this target, I think, from Flashpoint. He had so much presence in that last game, and I think was a large part of the reason why Flashpoint were just so overwhelming in those engagements. His timing with his Merlin transitions, as well as just understanding which stance would be the appropriate one to shift into from another. Really well played, I think, and nicely set up for himself. But now on the Zeus, I mean, there's still plenty of damage to be offered. It's just the positional issues that might come into play.
Yeah, you don't have that flicker anymore to help you reposition. And we saw Prime willing to use it both aggressively and defensively last game too, so he won't have that same tool available. He also won't have, you know, Darkest of Nights maybe to come in and save him.
Never say never, though. Could always get a blink on the Zeus. If you're feeling frisky. Wouldn't be the first mid laner that we've seen go that route.
That's true.
It is unlikely that Pretty Prime will opt for that style of play.
Also, Flicker works in combat, you know, because it's that good, Taco. It's a good ability.
Yeah, it's also instant.
Zoom,
pretty good.
You zoom. And you're playing on a Prime. Had a good game in game 1. But like I was saying, he doesn't have quite the same pieces around him this time with which to get that. Frostiak's not on the Erlang for the free early game. This Unbots very much wants to wait till level 5 and have one big surge in productivity around that ultimate and that cooldown. So they're going to have to make sure that they're executing a little cleaner, I think. Well, not cleaner, but the bar is higher than it was for them in Game 1.
And kind of going back to that initial not having the Darkest Night discussion,
right?
I am concerned for Half Devil here, because I think Aggro brought up a really interesting point. I'll get to that in a little bit here, but Fusify right now looking for the first blood, and we'll find it with some help. Johnny taking down Half Devil, and that's a way to start the dual lane.
Oh, it certainly is, man. Because Spainify drops the Darkest of Nights, easy aggression for Fusify, and Johnny's right there for the follow-up. Didn't even have to use Pal out, just Trickster Spirit to close the distance, and it's too much for Half Devil to deal with. And this is a good start. My man Half Devil had one of the best games I've seen him had in Game 1, so slow him down and don't let this Naja do the things he was doing last time.
A really nice timing from Johnny also, just making that rotation in time before Half Devil has a chance to hit level 5. Frostiak now hoping to return fire, instead just going to eat some Agni Poke in exchange.
Prime has already been forced into dropping his ultimate, even got the beads out from him to Johnny, but now can he close the distance? It looks like no, and Pretty Prime will slowly meander his way out of there, but Johnny's not entirely giving up on this, maybe looking for a lazy back, but Prime won't give it.
I think Johnny hesitated way too long.
Yeah.
That was free, but Johnny can't see overhead view like we can, unfortunately enough for this Dajin. Might have suspected, with the way that he was toggling into the chase against Prime, it definitely felt like he thought someone else from solo lane, perhaps even Dimmy, might have been starting to make a rotation, and was Pretty Prime just hoping to bait Johnny into some bad positioning there. So I definitely understand why Johnny was so reserved on that play, but I do hope to see him just full commit in the future.
We'll see if he's able to lock them down as one kill on the board at the 6-minute mark, and still the game slightly favoring Flashpoint. About 1,000 gold they are out in front as well. Some of that is, of course, the first blood. Some of it is some successful invades to farm a little bit better. Sibby, who I was talking about earlier having some trouble, has actually managed to regain some lane dominance here with this Sun Wukong.
I think it's just the beginning against the Achilles. Achilles can just offer so much damage outright that it can be tough for a Sun Wukong to really match that until he gets the boots completed, and now Sibby actually opting for that boots rush. Meanwhile, Dimmy went for the Glad Shield, so obviously both these solo laners having some form of sustain, Wukong off the Warriors blessing in the Health Chalice, and Dimmy solely relying, I think, on his ability damage, but either way, it's kind of tough, I think, for Dimmy to get the upper hand now, since Sibby can poke him out with that cudgel range.
Frostiak stunned to the middle lane. Fusify blink into the stun of his own. Lightning Storm is there to try and force back the rest of the squad, but Johnny comes in immediately. He's got the Palau now waiting. One's already chained, and they'll pull right back in. That's Prime who's low, and Fusify cleans up the kill. Flashpoint with aggression in the middle lane. Find one.
Pretty Prime's Lightning Storm just wasn't enough damage right away. Johnny hoping to get the back off in time. Half Devil hasn't spotted him. They checked the back Harpies first.
They didn't know where he was. Johnny with the escape. The Houdini as he somehow makes his way out of that one. That's a nice win for Flashpoint there in the middle lane. And they got a lot of beats too. It'll be open the next time they come back in, at least for Frostiak.
I just have to assume that Half Devil's screen didn't show that slight glow from the backing animation.
You can see
maybe
it, that
from the
outer ring.
angle that he tried to check on those back Harpies, he just got blocked off of that field of view from the rock there. So a little bit of help for Johnny, I think, when that life RNG gets involved, but I doubt that he really minds. That was an almost not kill onto Frostiak. Could have been a troublesome turn situation there for Flashpoint, but some nice toggling of the tower aggro, I think, is what resulted in a clean disengage.
And I like the way they staggered the CC on that one too. It was fair quick stun initially, then Fusify blinks over the wall in the bear form and lands a stun of his own, and that sets up for Johnny to come in with some damage. They even pulled Prime back in too with that chain since he didn't have the beads available. So really a nice fight. Like you said, almost though didn't quite clean it up. And I was wondering, Taco, I'm glad Frostiak was one of the fight to talk about him. Has he done enough for you so far this game? I mean, we haven't really seen an aggressive Fear No Evil from him yet.
I don't think we're going to see an aggressive Fear No Evil anytime soon, because right now it's just Spudio hoping to get away. Mounted Archery going to buy him a little bit of time here, but Fusify does not mind taking up this tower for Johnny, and just like that, Spudio, no chance of survival.
Not at all, not against 3 members, and he went right to the ultimate too, which is really the only option he had available to him. It just wasn't enough with them tanking the tower correctly. So the response will be Sibby. There's that aggressive Fear No Evil over on the right-hand side, but this Sun Wukong still has a somersault cloud. He's A-okay.
I don't think Dimmy really had much of a choice there, though. If I'm Dimmy, I'm automatically going into the Fatal Strike as well and just praying that the overhand smash from Frostiak's got enough damage to help confirm the kill there, but when it just doesn't put Sibby into that execute range. Sibby all too happy, I think, to just wander on out of there. And now, 2 ultimates, 2 pretty big team fighting ultimates at that, down from Outcold Gaming, just continuing to allow Flashpoint, I think, to keep farming for free, essentially, since they're not going to really have to worry about pressure into the solo lane any longer, at least not for a little bit. And Spudio, having just died, he's already trying to play a little bit more passive in the lane.
That's right. He knows that he could get ganked over there at any time, since Flashpoint have already shown a willingness, and he'll have to play around that. Look at all this cooldown, though, for Ferricrik. He's got the Mage's Blessing, Chronos Pendant, right into the cooldown boost. This is an older start we saw, not older, maybe like a couple patches ago or so, but not one that you always see going right away. But he's at max, man. He's going to have these bombs flying out constantly.
And I like the idea to just have team setup and AoE denial as opposed to having straight up damage. I know that I say straight up damage, but I mean, Half Devil just took half his health, so even with the CDR boots, you're still getting 55 magical power. It's not like the pen is going to be that sorely missed before anybody even has a chance to really buy magical protections.
That's right. I imagine he'll be going into pen with this very next item slot, so he should still be A-okay. Something like Spear the Magus certainly wouldn't be too bad, but maybe even an early on shard we'll certainly see. As Outcold have a response to all the aggression from Flashpoint. They want the Gold Fury Lightning Storm already dropped, and it's been bursted too quickly. Outcold grabbed the objective. Fusify, though, still wants to keep up the chase, dashing through Frostiak, but he's the only one here as Dimmy picks up the solo kill up against Sibby elsewhere.
Frostiak just hoping to try and get away for now. Will end up losing his purification beads in the process to avoid the route out of Fusify. But so far, so good for Outcold Gaming. That's a huge response against Flashpoint as well, because it felt like the map was starting to really buckle under Flashpoint's control.
Yeah.
So for Outcold to find that Gold Fury opening now creates a little bit of an opportunity for Flashpoint to try and respond with a T1 tower siege, and it's looking like they're going to be able to confirm it. But more importantly, it's just freedom in the duel lane.
Well, Dimmy did get the teleport off, so he's here for the fight. Johnny goes up into the air with the powwow. He'll be able to pull in one, but look at Dimmy waiting for him once he lands. A target caught in the grasp of Half Devil, who takes him up. It's Sibby who comes back down, but Caspanify, who's low, Dimmy does hunt down Johnny way on the back end, and he is nowhere near done. He comes right into some low health bars, but a good stun from Ferricrik slows him down.
Half Devil not done just yet, though.
Stun.
Dimmy gonna find the stun onto Fusify, hoping to get more.
Wow.
Will get the kill thanks to pretty prime Zeus damage, and now Frostiak diving deep into that backline.
What a nice panic button you can hit, though, and just say, we need a Dimmy, please come in and help. And he absolutely does, finds a couple kills, and gets that solo onto Sibby. 2-0-1 now on the Achilles, and making his presence felt as the Tier 1 tower fight disengages. Blackthorn completed as well. He really is going to come in swinging.
Dimmy doing everything in his power right now, I think, Finch, to salvage this game for Outcold, and it's working. Whatever he's doing, Outcold just need to keep him going at it, because he's causing a lot of problems now for Flashpoint's frontline and their backline. Dimmy's kind of just tanking it all.
And remember that Gold Fury call worked out for them too, so they really just kind of brute forced their way back into this game when it happened, starting to slip in favor of Flashpoint. It's certainly not out of reach yet, but look at this experience, a little bit favoring Frostiak, heavily favoring Dimmy now. I think Outcold have started to swing things back the other way.
But I think it's also an important lesson for Flashpoint that you can never get too comfortable, despite how much pressure you might feel like you have. And Dimmy might have done just that, gotten a little bit too comfortable there in the solo lane. All the Flashpoint rotating over. They're tired of this problem, and they needed a solution, and the solution is to simply four-man him down.
Yeah, take it to the man himself, right? No more rotations over at the back end of the fights for you, sir. We're bringing it to you. And at this point, there's really no magic defense. So once Fusify and Ferricrik get involved, all that damage is hitting home. And you can see that even with all this cooldown focused on by Ferricrik, he still got plenty of damage. They burn poor Dimmy before he gets a chance.
And Flashpoint really didn't want anything else. They legitimately just wanted to kill Dimmy. Probably could have even looked at that Pyromancer if they'd wanted to, but no, they just wanted to jump Dimmy, and they succeeded.
Poor guy. He'll be back up, though, before too long. Won't have teleport. Remember, he teleported that tier 1 in mid, as Prime almost gets soloed out by Fusify, but they're going to commit 2 ultimates onto the bear. A great call, as it certainly will take Fusify down. A little bit too aggressive there in mid.
I get it. You spent the entire game getting abused and cyberbullied, so for Fusify, I completely understand the sentiment. And there's no Gold Fury available or any buffs, really, so as far as further punish is concerned, Flashpoint don't really have to worry about missing out on too much. It really just Fusify's farm.
Blink from Johnny. He knows Spudio's ult's already down, so he's able to get that kill using the horrible burns. Now, what about poor Frostiak? He's going to be pulled back in by the powwow, and I think he'll just accept it. Now Johnny has to use the beads, but already incredibly low as Half Devil. Johnny just kind of making a play happen, 2 for 1 for his life, and able to get some beads out from Prime, courtesy of Faircrick on the back end.
Not sure that Farker wants to let this one go because he knew that Sibby was coming to help him out. Cudgel gonna take out Pretty Prime in the process. Meanwhile, Caspanify still toggling with Frostiak.
Stun lands. Frostiak is able to jump over the wall, and now the man of the hour is going to rotate in Demi here on the backside, but just gets there a little bit too late. 3 for 1. And Flashpoint really just manufactured that fight, thanks to Johnny bullying by the red buff.
But 2 of the most important carries are now without their relics, or at least their life-saving relics, for a couple of minutes, Finch. And you have to wonder, Flashpoint have so much room to work with now around this respawning Oni Fury that Outcold Gaming, if they want to try and contest this Oni, they're going to have to be extremely careful with their positioning, particularly Pretty Prime, because I think that Flashpoint now have definitely started to recognize some of the problems involved with Outcold's draft. So instead of just trying to win out on the team fight, they're just going for individual picks to kind of stagger the lead advantage back to them.
Well, it's what initially worked out so well for them. They were able to do these sort of staggered waves of initiation between the Agni, the Blink from Fusify, and then Johnny as well with his Trickster Spirit. And when Outcold don't have quite enough answers, then it very often is netted Flashpoint a kill or 2. Now with the Oni Fury up and on the map, they might want to regroup around this one. Like you said, Pretty Prime still very much vulnerable, no beads for Frostiak either. This will be a great time to force them out of position.
And I gotta say it, Finch, I think it might just be as simple as Caspanify having the Xbalanque this go-round instead of Spudio. Half Devil has struggled in Game 2 here on the Najah. We haven't seen nearly as much aggressive, and, well, I mean, we're not gonna see Half Devil anymore, period. He's dead.
That's on you for bringing him up, Taco. That's put the crosshairs on his back as Flashpoint want to look for the rest of this fight. Demi is coming in healthy, but it's Frostiak who finds Johnny an important pick to get that dodgy out of there. But Demi now locked down inside the cripple field, but a huge Fear No Evil comes in, sets up a double kill for Frostiak as he completes the killing spree. But it's 2 for 2 so far, but I don't think they're happy with those numbers. Sibby comes back in and cleans up Demi, but a triple for Frostiak as he finds Fusify.
Oh no, this could be trouble though for Frostiak and Spudio. Spudio popping out the beads and the Aegis. Sibby still looking to give chase, willing to take up tower shots even, but you can't juke out the cudgel. Sibby's got you with that one. Frostiak's still on the run, however, but I think this is one speedy monkey, and he should be on out of there.
I think he is, but a bloodbath in the jungle around that red buff. And that just ended up in a bunch of kills getting traded out. It's nice that Sibby and Faircrick live, but I think Frostiak being able to get all those kills is really nice to push him out even further ahead of Johnny on this dodgy. But Sibby is still chasing, it looks like.
I don't know if Frostiak's aware. No, he's definitely got to recognize that Sibby's right behind him, so we'll run back all the way into the safety of his T1 tower. I believe that Sibby might have just enough time. Nope, Demi's got the teleport up and running, so he'll make it over to Soul Lane before that creep wave has a chance to put any further poke into that tower. But Finch, that entire engagement just felt like Flashpoint one more time exploding Half Devil, and we don't even get a chance to call the play-by-play on it. That's how fast this man is dying.
He's been blown up entirely too quickly in that last fight, so got to make sure that he's a little bit more mindful of his positioning. 0-3 and 2, and it really does feel almost like day and night. I wonder how much of it is the darkest night, like you highlighted from Xbalanque, just not being there anymore and limiting his opportunities to make it in aggressively. This is also a bit of a slippery team to try and lock down on Flashpoint. That might hurt them too, as Oni Fury being burned quickly by Flashpoint. Frostiak goes in. Flashpoint are the ones to secure the objective, but Frostiak at least trades his life out 1 for 1. Now it's Half Devil in some trouble. Trickster Spirit from Johnny, but he wants to land the chains. Good jukes means it only lands on a Demi, but he avoids it with the fatal strike, and Caspanify goes down.
Caspanify, though, just getting two-pieced in between Demi and Half Devil. Unfortunate spot for Xbalanque to be, but hey, it's not all doom and gloom if you're Flashpoint. I mean, they did just confirm that Oni Fury, and they acquired 2 kills in the process against Frostiak and Pretty Prime, but Outcold not looking to let things go for free. It seemed as though they wanted to try and pressure that T1 tower, but with the Oni Fury wave just coming into mid right now, it's going to be a little bit too tough, I think, to kill those minions and any members of Flashpoint.
Yeah, but these side lanes might be in some trouble. Like you mentioned, the Oni waves have just met, and that's what these pings are. They're saying you got to get over there, or these tier 1 towers will just go down to the pressure from these Oni minions. They're so tough, and they'll push through those regular ones. So now, that's why we see Spudio and Demi going out to guard their respective lanes. But a two for two with the Oni Fury itself, and now Pyromancer definitely favors Flashpoint.
You know, if anybody's ever wondered what pre-workout feels like, this is a lot like what it feels like. If you're one of those Oni Fury waves, and you're kind of just stronger than everybody else, and you're just zooming down the lane, really looking to solo some towers, man.
Okay, so you take some, and then you feel ready to just push the other minions out of the way and take down towers.
Yeah, that or a little bit of G-Fuel.
Sure, that couldn't hurt either. Taco gave me the snap point,
The Apollo
too.
fingers.
I love it.
They might have heard the snap.
Hopefully they did. Hopefully they know. And not the Thanos snap either. I mean, that was a friendly snap from Taco.
Oh, I don't feel so good, Finn.
Taco let me hear it. But we were wondering where Faircrick was going to go with this build. It is the Spear of the Magus that the Agni's grabbed. As Demi actually might be in a bit of trouble. Johnny can certainly burn through this tanky Achilles. But they're taking the tier 1 tower a little bit too long. It's low. They could burn this. And yeah, Johnny recognizes they finally bring it down. But Half Devil has blinked in. Finds nothing, though, and he immediately turns tail.
Well, that's a free initiation gone that Flashpoint no longer have to worry about. And
Oh, that's blink down. Okay.
I doubt that anybody from Flashpoint's really all that upset. Hey, guys, Half Devil just uses Blink. Well, Pyromancer's already gone, though. I guess that's the one positive here if you're Half Devil, that you lose some of your initiation, but at the same time, Flashpoint's only real option is to look for a Fire Giant, which, by the way, they're looking for the Fire Giant Outcold. Do they even know?
It doesn't look like they know, but fortunately Flashpoint have dropped for now the idea. Instead, they're looking to see if maybe Outcold will send a lone member in by themselves. Fear no evil. They want to catch Fusify by himself. They drop the Lightning Storm as well, and Fusify has actually made it out. No, he's dashing back in. He still wants to fight. Demi comes in to clean that kill up, but Frostiak goes down 1 for 1. Sibby's clone is battling. That's not obviously Sibby down there, as he drops in on top of Spudio.
I am amazed at how well that worked out for Fusify. Or more importantly, he's able to tank it long enough, but the same story might not be said for Farcrick, as he'll lose his purification beats from a nice sash out of Half Devil and Outcold. Still hoping, I think, to try and push into Flashpoint, but that teleport from Sibby could change their mind.
Half Devil can't find the sash, and Sibby's happy to keep going. Magai's cloak comes out from Demi, and he lands a Tiger Stun in response. But Flashpoint have defended their Tier 1 tower for now. Remember, that started with a bit of a bait around the FG, and Fusify looking for a play, but Frostiak just immediately dropping the ultimate in his face, and they committed everything on top of it.
Some mild concerns, though, Finch, are how long do Frostiak and Pretty Prime intend on using both of their ultimates on a single target RDO? Because eventually, Fusify is going to reach a point, I feel, where he's going to live, except not at 10% HP. He's going to try and start surviving, I think, around that 30 to 40% threshold as he continues building into these protections. Right now, looking for the Magai's cloak, I think, is really smart, because the only true form of hard CC that Outcold really have that isn't melee range, I should add, is Frostiak's Fear No Evil.
It is the best thing that they have for controlling these fights, because, again, they went with the Najah support, which is strong, but it doesn't mean you don't have like a typical Guardian, who's the ones that typically carry the most control. Demi only has, like you said, that very close range stun, so they need Frostiak's Fear No Evils to be necessarily perfect. Or they need Flashpoint to do what they did last time, which was get a little bit sloppy in the fight. If they're all clumped up together for you anyway, it doesn't matter as much that you don't have control. You can just get your damage off. So Flashpoint maybe need to be a little cleaner about baiting the ult and then fighting knowing that Outcold don't have enough control.
It's like just enough space to where they all can't get caught inside of that Lightning Storm Fear No Evil, but not too much space where Half Devil can single target isolate someone out of Flashpoint. Whether it's a frontliner or even a carry, I don't think it matters at this stage for Half Devil, because the burst damage that Outcold can follow up with is probably more than enough to kill some of these tanks.
Flashpoint considering the Primal, as the Magai's Cloak proc taken away from Sibby. You'll lose that little bit of safety. Out cold. Want to force their way in. Eagle Eye damage coming out from Spudio, but it's Demi who gets poked down by the bombs from Faircrick. That's all 3 he's expended. But with all that cooldown, it won't be too long before he has them back.
Half Devil, I think, trying to find a sash onto Fusify just to take away that Magai's Cloak proc. And
on a ward, Johnny.
Had no idea, though, that he was sitting right on top of it. Now, with the powwow being forced preemptively, it's all eyes onto Dimmy, but a quick fatal strike's going to get him out of there, no problem.
The powwow, though, an important cooldown that was forced out as Spudio's low in the back end. So is Fusify, though, on the front side as Fear No Evil catches out Caspadify. Quick beads in response, but a perfect sash from Half Double locks him down. Now Caspadify in trouble, forced to use Aegis, but right over the wall comes Prime with the lightning storm that burns him down. Now Fusify in trouble, set up a double for the one-time Obey member Prime, letting him here.
Johnny and Sibby are going to combine, though, to bring down Half Devil in the process, so it's not a completely free 2-0 exchange for Outcold since they lose their support. But to kill Fusify and Caspadify, Flashpoint are definitely going to have to slow their roll for a bit.
And the ultimates forced out from Sibby and Johnny, those two much less of a threat without those as well. So I think Outcold can feel rather comfortable even without Half Devil in this engagement. And it looks like they do. They're going to move right on over towards this Primal, but not start it just yet.
And those are the choke points, by the way, that Outcold want Flashpoint to corral into.
Yes.
That Lightning Storm placement from Pretty Prime was just free.
And that's what, and this is what you were talking about, right? You said don't be too clumped up where Fear No Evil Lightning Storm wins the fight, but don't be too spread out because then the individual CC that they have is that much stronger, and that's what we saw. Flashpoint kept getting met at these small individual moments. I think it started because Johnny unfortunately just parked, and I mean parked with the huge break, the handbrake pulled up on top of a ward, and Outcold were able to punish him. So maybe if they have an engagement where that isn't how they start, it can go better.
My favorite, though, was how Outcold chose to pincer him inside of that. They knew that he was standing on top of that ward for so long,
well done.
and so they purposely took a long route around to really get into flank position for him. So that was just, I think, wise out of Dimmy and Half Devil to kind of trap Johnny between the two of them, because if there's one place Dadaji never wants to be stuck in between, it's an Achilles and a Najah.
Especially when knowing that you can go up into the pally, you'll come right back down between them again. So without that ultimate, a lot of Flashpoint's tools were wasted, and they had those smaller one-on-one or individual engagements that you don't want to have in the middle of the team fight. They'd much rather be able to kind of ball up on you once the Lightning Storm and Fear No Evil are down. So well done from Outcold in that last engagement. Now they must turn towards the next one.
And the other thing, too, for Johnny is that his powwows are largely trying to be intended, I think, for just Spudio and Pretty Prime. I don't think that there's any other target on
Prime.
Outcold that Johnny really wants to look for other than those two, because they're the only two that don't have Mad Guy's cloaks, so they're free away from that. But you just want to burn their beats.
Sibby takes a few shots there from Spudio. That brings him down to about half HP, but Half Devil paid a similar price thanks to the damage coming out from Ferricrick. So both of the teams have a tank that's a little bit less tanky than normal, at least for now. Though Half Devil could sustain up a little bit. He's on the Najah, so it's not too bad.
Not a whole lot of anti-heal for Flashpoint right now, but that might not matter if they're able to trap Dimmy here in a second. Half Devil hoping to go in off the Farcry, but it's the Fear No Evil that just opens everything up.
It was Caspadify was the target. Pretty Prime drops the ultimate again. They want Fusify, and Spudio finds the shot with the mounted archery. That locks him down. Half Devil goes up into the air to buy himself some time, and Dimmy's the one that capitalizes on the opportunity. Caspadify drops to the Achilles on the right-hand side. Prime comes back in with the damage and sets up Spudio, but at least Farcrick's there to get one kill on the Half Devil.
Johnny, he's got it progged. He's got the in-hand prog, but not able to find it just yet onto Frostiak. The blink into the auto. Frostiak never had a chance. Pretty Prime's back finishing right before Frostiak is the only reason we see Johnny go in there.
Johnny somehow knows where all the wards are, and then he stands on them. Very, very luckily, he got himself out of there on that one. But yes, to at least make it 2 for 3. But what a good fight, I would say, from Outcold yet again. And they're getting such good use out of the Lightning Storm and the Fear No Evil. The Fear No Evil forced out Caspadify. The Lightning Storm helped kill Fusify. And when the fight was that fractured, it's going to favor Outcold.
What's crazier to me, though, Finch, is that neither of these teams has been able to successfully take down this Primal Fury, and that's what both of them have been fighting over for the past, 9 minutes or so. It's just been a lot of back-and-forth action in these team fights, and I like that you use the word fractured, because that's definitely what it feels like from Flashpoint's stance, but I also feel as though Outcold aren't left with anything after these long fights to apply further pressure onto the objectives, and that's the main reason why Flashpoint are able to still hang in there despite the fact that they're losing more members in these exchanges.
That's a good point. Even when Outcold are winning, they're not winning by enough of a margin to feel comfortable. In fact, it's Flashpoint. We're going to start pulling this Primal Fury, and Caspadify's chunking away. Half Devil will be that first one. He certainly doesn't have Blink up just yet, about a few more seconds. But Primal Fury's already too low, and Flashpoint secure the objective. Fusify had everyone else zoned, able to get away from Half Devil, but Demi's there for the lockdown. Can't get anything with the Fatal Strike. Lightning Storm committed as well. This might finally be a good fight for Flashpoint.
Little wiggle from Fusify, gonna save his life for the moment, but then Civi, he tried to find the Tiger Stun instead. He'll eat a sash from Half Devil, and now it's the turnaround. Flashpoint are all on the run. Frosty's gonna be the first one to find Firecrack, but great Aegis timing, gonna buy Firecrack a little bit of time.
At least, but is it going to be enough? Frostyak chases him down and finds the Firecrack on the back end of it. So important that he kills that Agni. And this time it was Sibi who was just a little bit too far forward. Either that or Firecrack and Spotify were too far back. But whichever it is, they weren't on the same page. And now Outcold are coming right over to the Fire Giant.
No Primal Fury, but it might not even be necessary, Finch, because if there's one thing Outcold can offer, it is damage. And already this enhanced Fire Giant being brought down to the 75% health threshold. It's only Fusify here for the moment, but Caspanify and Johnny working their way in.
Nice engagement that sets up a stun from Fusify. Fusify finds Pretty Prime very early on. The Fire Giant's still leashed and still low. Outcold have not handled this correctly at all. Rising Jaguar gets one. Johnny finds another. Demi uses the Fatal Strike to bring Caspanify low, but they've already done the work. The Fire Giant isn't gone. In fact, Johnny finds a double kill, a collapse from Outcold on the Fire Giant. Taco, this is a nightmare.
Johnny still has the Trickster Spear. He just needs a little bit of a slow to catch up to Half Devil. Ringbound's going to buy him some time,
nice
slow down Johnny and Sibi in the process. But with 4 members dead out of Outcold and Firecrack having respawn, this might just be an enhanced Fire Giant all for Flashpoint.
It certainly could be now in the other direction. And Taco, what went wrong? Did they not leash the Fire Giant soon enough in that engagement? Was it just that Fusify landed a big stun? How'd that go so wrong?
Half of Outcold wanted to fight. The other half wanted to just stay on the enhanced Fire Giant. Spudio was still autoing, got baited, I think, by the 10% HP threshold, but this is an enhanced Fire Giant. He does not go down from just the Hunter alone. You need teamwork around this objective now, and the hesitation, or not, I shouldn't call it hesitation, but I think the split in calls, because that looked like some miscommunication that unfolded into outright chaos there for Outcold Gaming. But losing the enhanced Fire Giant in that fashion might have just thrown everything else that they did right out the window.
I think that it really did. Look at the gold lead just like that. They're almost 10,000 now out in front. At this point in the game, it still has some relevance in terms of selling those boots, getting that speed elixir and such online, but the Fire Giant was the MVP of that one for me. Fusify got such a big stun when he blinked in, and when those lava pools start spawning, and then when you want to disengage, you have to go across that fire ring as well. That's a bunch of extra damage. It's just too much that they took from the objective itself.
I think the cripple field as well from Fusify, it caught Pretty Prime right on top of those lava puddles like you mentioned, but Demi also got knocked up, so for a couple of seconds, he just legit could not do a single thing about his carries being aggressed into, and the Ring of Fire coming out. It was just really well played from Flashpoint.
Fusify with the blink into the walk strategy as Johnny finds Half Devil. That frontliner melted quite quickly, but so has Sibi. He kept a couple members zone, but it cost him his life. Support for solo laner here so far, and I think Flashpoint are done with this already. They've got to leave. Fatal Strike gets one, but not the second, but Demi not done yet. Firecrack at least finds the kill to make it 2 for 2 so far, but look how low Flashpoint are. I don't know if they can stick around.
Firecrack, though, trying to play it smart, actually goes into the back line of Outcold Gaming. Fusify, though, just way too low to get involved.
He can't come in to help out, but Johnny at least makes another 1 for 1, so it's 3 for 3 overall. They've been able to keep this one even. It's only damage dealers left on both sides of this engagement, though. So how they play it from here is critical.
But you have to remember, Enhanced Fire Giant does remove 50% of those backdoor protections. So even with the minion wave, if it goes down, I don't think Johnny's really going to care. But Spudio's got to worry about falling himself first.
Yeah, but the jungler that's better at the 1v1 is this dodgy, and a little bit of help comes in from Firecrack. They complete the deicide. I still don't think, though, that they can do this Phoenix. He's trying to tank for him, and Johnny's just going to use the Trickster Spirit instead to get across. So they can't get the Phoenix, but they win the fight, and now they're just going to back out. Johnny gets this combat completed in time, so will Firecrack and Taco. Another messy engagement. Neither of these teams can be particularly clean.
I'm happy for Johnny, though, that he backed before he had a chance to see that speed buff come up, because if it spawns and Johnny's still there, my man is canceling that back for the speed, even with Half Devil being in the mid lane. I'm telling you right now, there's not a jungler in the world that would pass up that opportunity, but I am right there with you, though, Finch. It feels as though Flashpoint have just ripped apart all of what Outcold built up for a large, probably 25 minutes or so of this match. I think that Outcold felt like they were definitely having the upper hand in a lot of these team fighting engagements, despite having, I think, the downside of the hard crowd control for their favor. It was just really well played, I think, engagements from Outcold that led into a lot of those isolation picks that Flashpoint kind of struggled with around objectives. But at the end of the day, you still got to get those objectives. And for Flashpoint to just wipe everyone from Outcold inside of that enhanced fire giant pit, that is something that is definitely coming back to haunt Outcold for not having just outright committed to dropping the fire.
They're definitely paying for that call. And those are the kind of wrinkles, the kind of things that need to be ironed out in your team that it's hard to know are there until you're in that moment particularly and that actual collapse happens. So hopefully it's valuable to them, even if they win this game, that fire giant secure wasn't the way that they would have wanted it, and they can clean that up in practice and something they can take from it. But it's the kind of thing you can only notice until you're literally here going through that rep and that breakdown in communication occurs.
And probably the best part about this for Outcall is that they do have such a strong base defense. I mean, that's the only reason why this mid Phoenix is even still standing here, because for all the pressure that Flashpoint can provide, it's still tough when you're trying to siege into the Fear No Evils, into the Lightning Storms, because even if you survive or succeed in taking that Phoenix, what happens after the fact? What happens when the detonation charges start coming through? And that is posing a lot more concerns for Flashpoint, and also kind of forcing them to be a little bit more reserved in these siege moments.
It's been an excellently played game, though, from Johnny and Fusify from what I've been able to see so far. 20 kill participation for Johnny of the 26 that have happened so far. And then Fusify on this RDO has been a great setup factor for Flashpoint as well. So they'll see if they can keep that train going. It's all about Prime on the other side. Top of the player damage charts on this Zeus, and no big surprise. If they can shut down some of that damage, the fights are probably going to be a lot easier.
Farkrick doing what he can to try and play catch-up, but sitting 5,000 behind, it's not going to be any easy feat to accomplish here. I think someone else who I really have to highlight for performance-wise is going to be Dimmy. Both games 1 and 2, Dimmy has just looked fantastic and arguably had the most control we've seen yet over City.
Dimmy, though, just when you mentioned him, starts to get burned. Fatal Strike has to be used defensively to get him out of there, though there is some good damage on this Flashpoint roster as well. Sibby and Fusify both taking quite a bit of poke. But don't worry, Dimmy has teleport to wards. He'll be back with a new health bar soon, so not the end of the world. And quite a few ultimates expended from Flashpoint, too.
Fusify's got to be careful here, because there's Dimmy already back in action. Windfire Wheel's going to take Fusify right up into the air, but Frosty is going to end up dying immediately to Johnny.
Johnny's able to burn him. Lightning Storm used just to try and punish Sibby on the left-hand side. They are going to find that kill, but a big ultimate's down, and that means in can go Johnny right away. He forces out B to cooldowns from everyone, but he knows he just needs Prime, but a stun comes out. That's all it takes. Spudio shuts him down 3 for 1 in favor of Outcold. Finally, a big fight from them. And what a good Fear No Evil from Frostiak on the back of Half Devil's ultimate to keep the rest of the team zoned away.
Frostiak might have died in the process, but you're absolutely right, Finch. It's the placement of that Fear No Evil that salvages the fight in Outcold's favor and prevents Flashpoint, I think, from properly collapsing onto their carries to try and keep them safe.
That's what really made the collapse on the Fusify work, right? Because like you said, Dimmy caught them off guard, I think, with the teleport towards back into the fight, and it was Fusify they isolated. But burning down that RDO doesn't go nearly as well if the rest of the team can collapse, and Frostiak said no to that collapse and shut them away at the Fear No Evil. Now it's enhanced Fire Giant on the table for Outcold. No one from Flashpoint around to try and stop them. This one's going down in favor of the Order side team, and they can start pushing finally.
But just like we discussed, Outcold Gaming have the Zeus and Humbots to help them on those base defenses. We could argue, or the same thing for Flashpoint. They've got an Agni, they've got Fusify as well with the Cripple Fields to prevent anybody who dives from escaping. Spanify on that Darkest Night, and Johnny with the Pal Out. It's such a tough comp for Outcold to now try and breach the base of.
It's not going to be easy. You mentioned that Agni for Faircrick. He sold the boots for this Shaman's Ring to go along with the Speed Elixir. And it can sometimes be a tough item to buy later because you got to get it stacked up to get that evolved form. But I think he's correctly recognized that they're doing so much poking and so much trading that he'll probably get that stacked up before too long.
I kind of wish that Fire Creek had a Divine Ruin on the Agni, though.
That wouldn't be bad in the slot.
I think it would definitely serve well, especially against this enhanced Fire Giant stim that Outcold are already benefiting off of. But there's a lot of self-sustain just within the itemization choices and the kits of Outcold Gaming. You've got Spudio with the Devo gloves. I think that also Half Devil on the Najah probably has not been getting punished nearly as much as what Flashpoint could have done, I think, because he just keeps resustaining himself back to relevancy.
The brawlers from Johnny, I think, is just about the only thing they have by way of anti-heal, which even if there's not a ton of dedicated healers, can be nice, you know, just like you said, to stop some of the stuff that can come from items or just in kits. So I think it definitely is a nice pickup to try and have a little bit more of that. As Outcold group up around the tier 2. Flashpoint are feigning as if they want to defend on this tower. This could potentially be difficult and risky.
I am not a fan, by the way, of Half Devil choosing to sell his boots for a damage item because he's not tanky. And he's feeling that right now on the disengage attempt from Flashpoint.
Big Lightning Storm, though, that lands on top of the frontliners for Flashpoint, but Fairquick gets Frostiak. Sibby finds Spudio. Johnny gets Prime, and just like that, it's 3 for 1 in favor of Flashpoint. Half Double in some trouble now as well, and if these chains land, there's nowhere for him to go. Half Double avoids the pull with the sash. Certainly a nice play, but doesn't save his life. It's just Demi left up against 4. Flashpoint aren't even going to miss Fusify. They've got all their damage dealers here and healthy and ready to go.
But I think Flashpoint are going to have to sit and wait it out for a second. Sibby's teleport, though, into the mid lane ward that Flashpoint just placed was really wise, but sieging against Demi could be a little bit difficult here. He does still have that enhanced Fire Giant, but Johnny doesn't even really seem to mind. They're already just looking to bring Demi down. They've
forced him back a little bit, and now that Caspanify is here, they have the true damage dealer onto this mid lane Firebird. And Taco in the 4v1. Flashpoint are saying, let's try and force our way into a game 3. It's just Demi. He's 10 seconds away from any kind of support. He immediately goes for Caspanify, but it's too late. The Titan is too low, and Flashpoint forced their way into a third game.
And I don't want to say that this is all coming solely back onto Half Devil for trying to buy damage item as his 6th item, but sure. I can't help but wonder what that siege would have looked like if he'd just gone for like a Lono's mask, for example.
Maybe,
had a lot more protections, because it felt like he just got bursted so quickly underneath that T2 tower that the only response left for Outcold was to try and disengage. But again, Flashpoint just really preventing them from the escape.
Yeah, what a difficult game for both of these teams. It was so back and forth. I think that call to defend on the tier 2. I mean, what a call that is to make. And so often in those situations, you just fall back to the Phoenix, especially that late. A tier 2 tower at that point in the game doesn't mean that much, but they were able to make a big playoff.
I think it makes sense, though, considering the kind of composition. It's the Agni, I think, the reason why Flashpoint looked for the TT defense.
Ended up working out well for them there. We're going to have a third game on our hands, so let's get it back over to the desk, have them break it down.
Thanks a lot there, John. Thanks a lot there, Taco. Great cast and a great game delivering us to game number 3 as Outcold are unable to secure the victory here. And we see Fairquick and the boys take one home.
It felt like they were about to do it. They have a big fight. They finally get that enhanced Fire Giant, and you'd think there's no way that they won't at least get some Phoenixes here, 40 minutes in or so. But then it's a decision to defend a tier 2 tower for Flashpoint, which seems very counterintuitive, but I think it really caught Outcold off guard, and they weren't really ready for it. Half Devil gets bursted down to half health before he even starts tanking the tower, and from there, the dive was just really, really strong. There really wasn't an answer for this Daji, who was all over Pretty Prime this game. Johnny finishes with 15 kills in this game, a great performance from him, but it was consistent damage from Fairquick as well. The mid laners, both Prime and Fairquick, I think had huge impacts on this game.
Again, I think this is very, very much so into the Flashpoint sort of mentality. If you look at the player damage, Johnny isn't exactly number 1 or number 2 or even number 3 overall, but he finds the last hits. He's able to navigate his way through the team fight after the supplementary damage coming from, as you mentioned, the mid laner and the rest of the team.
This fight, though, was a huge turning point because Outcold is in a pretty good spot. They've got a chance to get the enhanced Fire Giant, and then it just seems to go a little bit awry. There's a miscommunication. Are we staying on the fight? Are we staying on the Fire Giant? Which way are we going? And it just doesn't end up paying off for them. In fact, it's Flashpoint who end up coming in and really causing a lot of havoc in that fight. They get that enhanced Fire Giant. Outcold's able to defend very well because they've got Zeus on the defense. It was very, very back and forth. It's just that one mistake, when you make it 40 plus minutes in, one mistake will end the game, and that's what happened.
I love the choice of the Magi's cloak here for Johnny as well, just continuing his ability to stay unfettered in the team fight is very important here. Fire Crick 4, 2, and 11, but that 11 very, very important. We'll see on the player damage side here, 32,000 player damage, Johnny with the 26. So maybe number 2, but the Zeus is certainly real strong. And
Yes.
extra shout out to Spudio as well, who was able to provide a lot of damage.
Yeah, Outcold did a lot of things well this game. I think that I'm a little surprised that Prime goes full damage across all 6 items right away. I think I would have preferred to see him pick up a Mantle of Discord or something to help get Johnny off of him, because that's such a hard matchup for Zeus, because Zeus's damage takes some time to accumulate.
Sure.
You need to bounce your chain lightning off your shield or another person, or you need to drop your ult, and you need 2 ticks of that to make it really do significant damage. And Johnny's just dodgy, and he can easily weave in and out with that 2
Sure.
to avoid a lot of that damage. Then as soon as he is done moving around really quickly, he just pops into the powwow, and all of a sudden you've got no way to damage him. It's really, really hard for Zeus to handle a character like dodgy, and I love that pick for Johnny, and he executed it beautifully.
It's really fun to see Johnny continue to do things, but
You ready for this one?
I am ready.
Let's do it then.